A reading from the book of Genesis. The Lord appeared to Abraham by the oak of Mamre, as Abraham was sitting in the entrance of his tent while the day was growing hot. Looking up, he saw 3 men standing near him. "Where is your wife Sarah?" they asked him. "There in the tent," he replied. One of them said, "I will return to you about this time next year, and Sarah will then have a son." Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent just behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years, and Sarah had stopped having her menstrual periods. So Sarah laughed. But the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Will I really bear a child, old as I am?' Is there anything too marvelous for the Lord to do?" At the appointed time, about this time next year, I will return to you, and Sarah will have a son." The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. At the beginning of the Old Testament, there was a story of an empty womb. Given the age count of the old couple, Abraham and Sarah, an empty womb would come as no surprise to anyone. But there is an added difficulty in the fact that Sarah has always been barren. In spite of this, the old couple live in hope of having their own child. The promise of God has led them to believe it possible, and they make the promise of God their daily bread, nourishing the fond hope that one day they will be parents. As we heard in the reading, one day 3 visitors will arrive. They are carriers of the most precious news that God is a keeper of promises, and Sarah will have a child in her old age, because God will visit her in a special way. The response to this long-awaited news is laughter. When Sarah hears the announcement from her hiding place behind the door, she laughs. This is a marvelous image of a woman who has been a pensioner for years, with her apron in her mouth, laughing through her false teeth at the idea of herself as a mother at last. Sarah can laugh at the idea of a baby being born, not in the maternity ward, but in the geriatric ward. She can laugh in delight at the prospect of an old, empty cradle being occupied at last. Laughter is a good response to the fulfillment of the promises of God, that the couple will have a son, not out of necessity or medical ingenuity, but because of the ability of God to do the humanly impossible. Now, at the beginning of the New Testament, there is also a story of an empty womb. Matthew and Luke open their Gospels celebrating how God visits his people in the birth of Jesus. A young Jewish girl called Mary is chosen to be the mother of the Son of God. There is no suggestion that Mary, like Sarah, is longing and praying for a child of her own. There's no suggestion that Mary, like Sarah, is old and barren. Mary is a young virgin, but just as old age and barrenness are not barriers to the plan of God, neither is youth or virginity. For nothing is impossible with God. In the gospel, Mary's virginity is important because it points to the truth of who her child is. So the child will be holy and will be called Son of God. Having a child is not Mary's idea, it is God's. And John puts it eloquently in his gospel. Jesus is born. In being the mother of Jesus, Mary does the same as any other mother, nurturing within her womb the great process of a little one taking shape. Motherhood means not only having a baby, but eventually letting go of the baby. Birth is not possessive. It is letting another life take its rightful place in the world. Birth is the act of painful separation, when the mother must let her child go for the first time. And as every mother knows, giving birth is only the first of many times when mothers have to let go. That is something which Mary has to do, not only to nurture Jesus in his growing, but eventually to let him go his way to make his appointed future. Mary has to do what the Father did, let go of his beloved Son. And that is what Mary does. She does not anxiously clutch Jesus to herself, but she gives him to us. She asks us to do what she does. Share Jesus with everyone. Give him as life to others.